All right. All right. So come on in, come on in. I'm not going to really be doing a lot of, my broadcast talk because there was someone who came out and they wanted to know how I do my mind map. They were asking that in the last video, and as I sat down to do my paper, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to have the mind map anyway tonight, so I might as well show you all how I do it. So if you just give me a second, I'm gonna connect my writing tablet to the computer, and then I'm gonna show you how I do it. I don't know how other people do it because the way my brain works, you really kind of have to do things the way your mind works. Hey Vivi, this is not really so much a show this is something I would have done behind the scenes, but the person who asked, I don't know if they're part of the tech squad or not, so we're going to do something different than we typically do, and you all can come with me while we do this. So we're going to set the timer for 40 minutes so that after 40 minutes we get up and we do a movement break. Because while you're studying, you're doing a lot of sitting, a lot of the blood and stagnant energies are pooling around in your legs or wherever. And then especially if you're sitting in a chair, it's very unnatural. I typically sit down on the floor, which gets your body into position that's a little more natural for us. So I'm going to put this over here. Welcome in. Hey, Denise. It's going to be a small broadcast. We're just coming in. I'm just going to show you how I do my mind mapping, and then I'm going to go from there. So one of the very first things that I do is I Google NotebookLM. Google NotebookLM. I'm going to show you. All right. So NotebookLM apparently has more names than, other things. And so I go to the one that has Google on it, and then it opens up the different, so how I do it. So tonight I have a paper due on positive psychology and psychodramas, right? So I got some additional training. So as a hypnotherapist, I do psychodramas, but I wanted to learn a new technique that Seligman and Moreno did in psychodramas. So I took this course. It was an intensive, and then now I have a paper on it. The professor, let me show you all how to do this. The professor, I'm looking for, that's not the right one. All right, let me see if I can get, here it is. Okay. So once I go to NotebookLM, I'm just going to show you a step-by-step how I do it, and how you do it may be different, and that's cool. We're just being really studious right now, Jessica, so welcome in. This is really for the students and other people who are in school. If you're looking, some people wanted to know my particular technique, so this is what I do. I need to choose the file. Let me make sure that I can get into the right file location. I'm glad I didn't have this up on the screen because this shows a lot of stuff that I wouldn't want on camera. This is interesting. This thing is not... It's not updated. It's not updated. So I have cloud on my laptop and my computer, and the computer is not updated from the laptop for some reason, and I don't know why. Let me see if I open up the app. Hi, welcome Shanti. Welcome. Yeah, that's really wild. It's not updated. All right, it's updating now, but my goodness. Like, come on. So look, if you want to study with me, that's cool. I'm not going to be doing a lot of entertaining on this broadcast. I'm really just here just to show how I do my mind mapping. And it looks like I'm gonna have to go to the website or the web for the cloud stuff because it's just now updating. And so all of this time it just didn't update. So let me just open up. Unbelievable. Someone is liking my hair. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so finally, so let me so this is, let me save this. How do I download it? Download. Okay, so I hope this downloaded into, let me see if it's in my download folder. Okay, it is. It is. Okay, so let's get started. Let me go back to the NotebookLM. There's a lot of stuff here. All right, here. All right. So welcome in. If you come in, just grab a seat and, you know, pull up. You could just say hello or whatnot, or however you want to do it. All right. So what I do is I drag the file over, right? And so it's going to start running it now. And it typically just says untitled. All right. And then now you see it's created the own title. Here on the right hand side, you can create an audio overview. So it'll make a podcast, right? And so I just click generate so that it could generate a podcast. So this particular professor, he wants us to use three references. This is pretty laid back. I need to have this done before midnight. And it's only 750 words, which doesn't seem like a lot. How many pages is 750 words? Let me Google it while it's making that thing. How many pages is 750 words? The thing is that I need to do this. So this is 1.5 when single space or 3 pages when double space. That's fine. So the professor really just the professor really just wants us to give it's really easy when we're just talking about our own point of view. So Queen, because I am a public figure and we are public, I'm not saying the name of the school that I attend because, you know, security concerns and stuff like that. So, you know. All right. So it's making a podcast of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to some of the other ones. So these are some of the other ones that I have created. This is how I typically do, like when there's like long papers. So, okay. This right here, psychometric properties. Let me see what this one is. Okay. Let me see. Moreno techniques, systematic review of psychodrama. So let's see, and let's load the systematic review of psychodrama interventions. All right. All right, so what we're gonna do is, so while that's happening, let me get my ePad up and running. And then, so this is a 19-minute podcast that they created. Let me take a look at the so this is, it looks like, hold on. So this has abstracts and eligibility criteria, risk factors. Typically I would just, there's a lot of different papers that he gave. So typically I would look over, I would like really fast skim the PDF, and then I would create this audio, and then we're just going to do it together. I'm going to show you how I connect my notebook. Where's my notebook? Here it is. So let me go into here. Let me create a notebook and call this notebook Mind Map. All right, so let me create my notebook. Okay. Okay, let me turn it sideways, because when I do my mind mapping, I do my mind map sideways. I don't know how to, where's my settings? No, go back. Template, layer, stop sharing, set to landscape. Okay. So here, I'm just tuning in right now, and I'm wondering, you're making like a profile for other people. Shouldn't they have some input in that? I'm a little confused. Like I said, I'm just catching on from this point. I don't know what you're talking about, girl. We are doing just a mind map. Ain't no profile and all of that. I'm just doing a mind map. I'm doing my schoolwork right now because I have a paper due tonight. So if you're doing something else, you do what you need to do for you, baby girl. I'm doing what I need to do for me right now, and I'm just basically showing how I do my mind map. That's it. And if somebody wants input on my paper, I don't really know how that's gonna work, baby. And I don't know what you could have possibly heard that gave you the impression that I was doing something for somebody else. All right. So this right here. All right. So there. Okay. Someone is asking some questions about something. I'm just going to show you the process that I use. Everybody, you can do it however you want to do it. Everybody's mind works different the way, because from what it is that I've learned about mind mapping, our minds don't work up and down straight on paper. And I'm going to show you how my mind works as we're listening to this audio. So you'll get a chance to learn about psychodrama, and you'll get to see how I mind map. All right, so let's get it done.
Welcome to another deep dive, everybody. This time we're going to get into some fascinating research on psychodrama. Now, psychodrama, you might...
So one of the things I want you all to remember is that this is AI. Like, this is AI. These are not real people. Sometimes I get confused, but they're not real people. This is AI. All right, so just keep that in mind. This is where we've come as far as technology. So let's get into it. Let's get into it.
Welcome to another deep dive, everybody. This time we're going to get into some fascinating research on psychodrama. Now, psychodrama, you might be picturing, like those really intense group therapy sessions, lots of drama, right?
Well, yeah, it can be intense, but psychodrama is actually way more versatile than that. It's used with individuals, couples, families, groups, of course. And it
So I like to just put the topic in the middle so that I am able to orient. That's how I do mine. Okay.
it's not just for adults.
Welcome to another
All right.
deep dive, everybody. This time we're going to get into some fascinating research on psychodrama. Now, psychodrama, you might be picturing, like those really intense group therapy sessions, lots of drama, right?
Well, yeah, it can be intense, but psychodrama is actually way more versatile than that. It's used with individuals, couples, families, groups, of course. And it's not just for adults either. It can be helpful for all ages.
So if someone's like totally new to this, what exactly is psychodrama? Like, how would you explain it to someone who's never heard of it?
Okay, so imagine instead of just talking about a problem you're going through, you actually get to act it out. In a safe space, of course, with a trained therapist guiding you.
Oh, interesting. So it's like more than just words.
Exactly. It uses role play and dramatic techniques to help people explore their inner world, their relationships. It's about bringing things to life, not just analyzing them in your head.
So instead of just saying, I'm having trouble communicating with my boss, you might actually role play that interaction, like try on different perspectives.
Exactly. And by embodying those different roles, you can gain a much deeper understanding of what's really going on, the dynamics, the emotions, even try out new ways of handling things.
I can see how that would be super powerful. So for today's deep dive, we're looking at what research tells us about psychodrama.
Right. We've got this 2019 systematic review that analyzed a bunch of studies, 31 to be exact, all published between 2007 and 2017.
So like a whole decade's worth of research. That's awesome. And what are we hoping to get out of this review? What's the
Were done in Turkey. 7 in 2017.
So like a whole decade's worth.
Right off.
Today's deep dive, we're looking at what research tells us about psychodrama.
Right. We've got this 2019 systematic review that analyzed a bunch of studies, 31 to be exact, all published between 2007 and 2017.
So like a whole decade's worth of research. That's awesome. And what are we hoping to get out of this review? What's the big question we're trying to answer?
Well, we're not necessarily trying to prove that psychodrama works. More like we're trying to understand how the research is being done, what it's telling us so far, and what gaps still exist.
What don't we know yet?
Exactly. Okay, so right off the bat, this review pointed out that there's a lot of variation in where this research is coming from. A huge chunk, like almost 40% of the studies were done in Turkey.
Wow, that's a lot. Why do you think that is? Is psychodrama just like way more popular in Turkey than in other places?
It could be. Or it might have to do with like training programs being more available there, or maybe research funding is different in different countries. It's hard to say for sure, but it's definitely something to keep in mind. Research isn't always universal, right?
It's a reminder that we have to think about context, like
Yeah.
where the research was done and all that.
Absolutely. Now, another interesting thing is who these studies were looking at. The biggest group was what they called youth at risk, which made up 32% of the studies.
Youth at risk. So we're talking like teenagers going through tough stuff, maybe family problems, school issues, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like psychodrama is seen as a particularly useful tool for helping young people navigate those difficult years.
That makes sense. Then the next two biggest groups were students, 13%, and adults with mental health conditions, also 13%.
Right. Now, what I found surprising is that only 2 studies focused specifically on children.
Really? Only 2? That's kind of shocking considering
It's a particularly useful tool.
a shock reminder that we have to think about context. Like,
Absolutely. Now, another interesting thing is who these studies were looking at. The biggest group was what they called youth at risk, which made up 32% of the studies.
youth at risk. So we're talking like teenagers going through tough stuff, maybe family problems, school issues, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like psychodrama is seen as a particularly useful tool for helping young people navigate those difficult years.
That makes sense. Then the next two biggest groups were students, 13%, and adults with mental health conditions, also 13%.
Right. Now, what I found surprising is that only 2 studies focused specifically on children.
Really? Only 2? That's kind of shocking considering how much psychodrama is known for working with kids, like through play therapy and all that.
Yeah, I agree. It's a huge gap in the research. I mean, If psychodrama is so effective for kids, we need more studies to really understand how it works, what the benefits are,
Totally. Okay, so we've got a sense of where the research is happening and who it's focusing on. What about the outcomes? Like, what were these studies actually trying to measure?
Well, there was a pretty big range of outcomes studied. Some of the most common ones were adolescent behavioral problems, anxiety, depression.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense given the focus on youth at risk.
Right. And then they also looked at quality of life, like overall well-being.
Outcomes. Like, what were these studies actually trying to measure?
Well, there was a pretty big range of outcomes studied. Some of the most common ones were adolescent behavioral problems, anxiety, depression.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense given the focus on youth at risk.
Right. And then they also looked at quality of life, like overall well-being, how severe the symptoms were, and something called global functioning, which basically means how well someone is able to manage their
To help people.
look at attachment styles, say anxiety, depression.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense given the focus on outcome. So,
Benefits are,
totally. Okay, so we've got a sense of where the research is happening and who it's focusing on. What about the outcomes? Like, what were these studies actually trying to measure?
Well, there was a pretty big range of outcomes studied. Some of the most common ones were adolescent behavioral problems, anxiety, depression.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense given the focus on youth at risk.
Right. And then they also looked at quality of life, like overall well-being, how severe the symptoms were, and something called global functioning, which basically means how well someone is able to manage their daily life.
Right, makes sense.
And then there was this long list of other things, all sorts of stuff. They looked at attachment styles, self-esteem, burnout in adults, even smoking cessation.
Smoking cessation. Wow, that's interesting. So they used psychodrama to help people quit smoking.
Yeah. It shows just how broad psychodrama's applications can be. But it also makes it hard to, draw firm conclusions about its effectiveness for any one specific problem.
Because the research is all over the place.
Exactly. It's like trying to study the effectiveness of, like exercise on every aspect of human health all at once.
Yeah.
You might find some general trends, but the specifics get lost.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so we've talked about where the research is happening, who it's focusing on, and what it's trying to measure. But this systematic review also looked at the quality of the research itself, right?
Right. They didn't just look at the findings. They actually assessed how well the studies were designed, how rigorous they were. And, they found some weaknesses.
Oh, really? Like what?
Well, one thing that surprised me was that very few studies actually measured core psychodrama concepts. Like, only one study out of all 31 actually measured spontaneity.
Wait, what? Only one? I mean, isn't spontaneity like a key part of psychodrama?
It is. It's considered essential. So it's kind of strange that it wasn't studied more, right?
Yeah, that's really weird. Why do you think that is?
Maybe researchers are more focused on, like, those outcomes that are easy to measure. Like, did anxiety go down? Did depression improve? Things like that. Instead of those more subtle internal processes that are harder to capture.
Okay, yeah. But if you're not measuring those core things, are you even really studying psychodrama? And you're missing a big piece of the puzzle, right?
That's the concern. It's like evaluating how good someone is at swimming without actually watching them swim. You're missing the most important part.
Totally. Okay, so what other methodological issues did they find?
Another one was that a lot of the qualitative studies, the ones that focus on people's experiences and stories, they often lack details about the context of the study, like where it took place, what the specific circumstances were.
So you know what happened, but not like the whole story.
Exactly. And without that context, it's hard to know how relevant the findings are to other settings or other people.
Right, because what works in one place might not work somewhere else.
Exactly. It limits how much we can learn from the research, Okay, then when it came to mixed method studies, which are the ones that combine both qualitative and quantitative approaches.
Yeah, like getting the best of both worlds.
Right. They found that a lot of these studies didn't have a clear research question driving the integration of the data. Like, they were collecting both types of data, but it wasn't always clear how they were going to use them together to answer a specific question.
Oh, okay. So they had all the ingredients, but no recipe.
Pretty much. They might have ended up with something decent, but it wasn't as good as it could have been if they had had a clear plan from the start.
I'm sensing a theme here. It sounds like a lot of these issues come down to like attention to detail and having a really clear focus.
Absolutely. Now, even the randomized controlled trials, which are supposed to be the gold standard of research, they found some problems there too.
Like what? I thought those were supposed to be the most reliable studies.
They are, in theory. But even in the RCTs, they found issues like unclear randomization procedures, lack of blinding.
Hold on, what's blinding again? I always hear that word in research, but
Oh yeah. Blinding means that either the people in the study or the researchers, or ideally both, don't know who's getting which treatment.
oh, right. So it's like a blind taste test where you don't know which brand of soda you're drinking.
Exactly. And that's important because it helps prevent bias from creeping into the results.
So it's like even the best research isn't perfect.
No research is perfect. There are always limitations, and we have to be aware of those limitations when we're interpreting the findings.
That's a good point. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've looked at the global trends in psychodrama research, who's being studied, the types of outcomes they're looking at, and even some of the methodological strengths and weaknesses.
Right. And in the next part of our deep dive, we'll move beyond the methods and start exploring what these studies actually found. What did they learn about the effectiveness of psychodrama for different challenges?
Sounds good. I can't wait to hear more.
All right, so we're just going to pause real quick for those of you who are still with me. When I do my mind maps, I start with the information in the bottom right-hand corner. This is how my mind interprets and remembers information. And I give the details on the upper right. Oh, what was that? Oh, some red thing is coming up on the screen. Nonetheless, I give the details in the upper right. Additional information I have on the upper and the bottom. So the stuff that I need to remember, like that gives context, I put down underneath. And the stuff that is kind of like, do I need to know this? Do I not? I put above, like problems, like the issues with this, I put above. And then on the left-hand side, I reserve that for the information that I need to learn, like the outcomes of studies, what actually ended up happening. So when I look at my mind map, I know that when I look at the right, I know that I'm going to be seeing the intro. I know that I'm going to be seeing the like the abstract is going to be here on the bottom right. If you can see my mouse, the abstract is going to be over here. The details, giving more expounding information, is going to be over here, and then extra information is going to be on the top and bottom. And on the left hand side is going to be like the stuff I need to know, remember, and conclude.
All right, welcome back. Last time we got a good overview of what's going on in psychodrama research, where the studies are happening, who they're focusing on, all that good stuff.
Right. We talked about how important it is to not just look at the results of a study, but also to consider like how the study was actually done, the methods, all that.
Exactly. But now I'm ready to dive into those results. What have they actually found about psychodrama's effectiveness?
Well, it's tricky because remember, we're looking at 31 studies. And they were all looking at different things, different populations, different outcomes, different approaches.
Yeah. So how do we make sense of all that without getting totally overwhelmed by information?
Good question. One way is to focus on the studies that had the strongest research designs, the ones that give us the most confidence in the findings. So specifically, we'll look at some of the randomized controlled trials, the RCTs.
Ah, yes, those gold standard studies, the ones that are designed to really minimize bias and give us the best chance of figuring out if psychodrama is actually causing the changes we see.
Exactly. And when we zoom in on those RCTs, some pretty interesting stuff emerges. For example, there's one study that looked at adults trying to quit smoking.
Ooh, quitting smoking, that's a tough one. So did psychodrama help?
Well, they found that when psychodrama was combined with the standard treatment for smoking cessation, the success rate actually went up.
So it wasn't just psychodrama alone, but working together with other approaches.
Right, exactly. It's kind of like, rarely does just one thing completely solve a complex problem.
Right. It's like that saying, it takes a village,
Yeah, something like that. Another RCT focused on men struggling with opiate dependence.
Wow, that's a really tough one too. What do they find there?
So this study showed that psychodrama actually led to improvements in the men's overall quality of life.
Interesting. So it wasn't just about abstaining from the drug, but about feeling better overall.
Exactly. Rebuilding a more fulfilling life, not just managing the addiction itself. That's something that can be easy to miss, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about the whole person, not just the problem. What other populations did these studies look at?
Well, there was one on adults with Parkinson's disease, which, you know, is a progressive neurological condition.
Right. So we're not just talking about mental health challenges here, but also folks dealing with physical health issues.
Exactly. And this study found that compared to a control group, they were on a waiting list for treatment. The group that received psychodrama, they actually showed improvements in their depression, anxiety levels, and they reported a higher quality of life.
Wow, that's really encouraging. It really seems like psychodrama could help people cope with a pretty wide range of challenges.
It's definitely promising, though it's important to remember that not every single RCT had positive results. So definitely life.
Wow, that's really encouraging. It really seems like...
Parkinson's disease, which, you know, is a progressive neurological condition.
Right. So
Hey,
we're not just
Soraya.
talking about mental health challenges here, but also folks dealing with physical health issues.
Exactly. And this study found that compared to a control group, they were on a waiting list for treatment. The group that received psychodrama, they actually showed improvements in their depression, anxiety levels, and they reported a higher quality of life.
Wow, that's really encouraging. It really seems like psychodrama could help people cope with a pretty wide range of challenges.
It's definitely promising, though it's important to remember that not every single RCT had positive results.
Oh, right, of course. Research is never that clear-cut, is it?
Nope. One study looked at adults working in public service who were experiencing burnout.
Oh, I can relate to that. So did psychodrama help with burnout?
Well, it did lead to an increase in what they call sense of coherence.
Sense of coherence, what's that?
It basically means feeling like your life makes sense, like you can cope with stress and challenges. But here's the thing, it didn't actually outperform another type of therapy, this analytic therapy group, on the measures they used.
So it might be helpful, but it's not necessarily more helpful than other approaches. At least not for every single person or problem.
Right, and that's why it's so important to think about individual needs and preferences when choosing a therapy. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing. It's about finding the right fit.
Totally. It's like how some people love running marathons and some people would rather, watch paint dry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's actually where things get even more interesting, because this systematic review we're talking about, it didn't specifically investigate who might benefit most from psychodrama.
So we've got some clues that it might be helpful for a lot of different challenges, but we don't really know what personal factors might make it a good fit for someone.
Right. Like, could your personality type, your learning style, your past experiences, could those things make you more or less likely to benefit from this?
All right. So here we have questions. So for my questions, I do them. Hey, Elle, how are you? We just came back. I just wanted to show people how I do my, what do you call this? My mind map. How I do my mind map. And so that's what we're doing. All right. So now we have questions. And so the questions would typically go above. And so I'm going to, I got to find a place to fit it. Okay. I'm going to just draw a line so I know where I'm coming from.
Totally. It's like how some people love running marathons and some people would rather, watch paint dry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's actually where things get even more interesting, because this systematic review we're talking about, it didn't specifically investigate who might benefit most from psychodrama.
So we've got some clues that it might be helpful for a lot of different challenges, but we don't really know what personal factors might make it a good fit for someone.
Right. Like, could your personality type, your learning style, your past experiences, could those things make you more or less likely to benefit from this approach?
That's a great question. And something for our listeners to think about too, right? Like, what feels right for you? What kind of therapy do you connect with? Those are important questions.
Absolutely. Now, before we wrap up this part, I want to mention one more study that had some really interesting findings about self-concept and loneliness.
Ooh, those are big topics. Okay, tell me more.
So this one involved adolescents who were considered at risk. The researchers compared a group that was receiving psychodrama to a control group who were on a waiting list for treatment.
Okay.
Yeah. They found that the teens in the psychodrama group, they showed improvements in 3 out of 4 aspects of self-concept.
Meaning they developed a more positive view of themselves.
Exactly. Specifically in things like social competence, feeling good about their academic abilities, and physical competence.
Wow, that's really important, especially during the teenage years, right? I mean, that's a time when self-esteem can be all over the place. Did they find anything else?
Yeah, they also found that the psychodrama group experienced a decrease in loneliness compared to the control group.
That's huge. Feeling connected to yourself and to others, that's so important for well-being, no matter how old you are.
Totally. And this study, it did something else really cool. They didn't just look at those like before and after outcomes. They actually tried to understand what was happening during the psychodrama sessions that might have been leading to those changes.
So they were paying attention to the process, not just the results.
Exactly. And they found that certain behaviors during the sessions were actually predictive of those positive changes in self-concept and loneliness.
Okay, so what kind of behaviors?
Things like, showing initiative during the enactments, being willing to take on challenging roles, really immersing themselves in the experience.
So it sounds like the more engaged and active they were, the more they got out of it.
That's a really great takeaway. It highlights just how important it is to be an active participant, not just a passive observer, if you want to really benefit from psychodrama.
Absolutely. It's about really stepping into those uncomfortable spaces, allowing yourself to experience your emotions, your relationships in a new way. That can be really transformative.
I completely agree. Okay, so to sum up what we've learned so far, we've seen some pretty encouraging evidence that psychodrama can be effective for a bunch of different challenges, from addiction to Parkinson's disease, burnout, and even those difficulties that adolescents often face.
Right, but there's still a lot more to learn, especially about what makes it a good fit for certain individuals.
Exactly. And in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to explore those exciting possibilities, and we'll leave you with a thought-provoking question to ponder as you continue on your own journey of discovery.
Stay tuned. And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into psychodrama research. So we've gone from those big global trends to looking at specific studies, and I'm excited to look ahead now. What's next for this field? Where does the research go from here?
Well, the good news is the systematic review we've been talking about, it gives us some pretty clear directions for future research, almost like a roadmap,
Yeah.
for figuring out how to really make the most of psychodrama.
Yeah, and I bet some of these recommendations are going to sound familiar because we've kind of been hinting at them all along, haven't we?
Definitely. It really boils down to rigor, specificity, and understanding what makes psychodrama unique.
Okay, so I'm excited to look ahead now. What's next for this field? Where does the research go from here?
Well, the good news is the systematic review we've been talking about, it gives us some pretty clear directions for future research, almost like a roadmap,
Yeah.
for figuring out how to really make the most of psychodrama.
Yeah, and I bet some of these recommendations are going to sound familiar because we've kind of been hinting at them all along, haven't we?
Definitely. It really boils down to rigor, specificity, and understanding what makes psychodrama unique.
Okay, so first up, more research on those psychodrama-specific mechanisms of change, right? What is it about this approach, besides the stuff that makes any therapy helpful, that really makes it tick?
We need to move beyond just saying it works and really get into the how and the why,
We know this car gets us from point A to point B, but what's going on under the hood? What makes the engine run?
I like that. And in psychodrama, that means really taking a close look at concepts like spontaneity, creativity, the power of role-playing, that whole thing of enacting things instead of just talking about them.
Okay, yeah, it's time to put those theories to the test. What else?
Another big one is stronger qualitative research. Remember, that's all about those in-depth descriptions, individual stories, those little details that you can't always capture with numbers.
Right. But it's not just about collecting stories, right? The researchers themselves need to be more transparent about their own perspective, their potential biases.
Exactly. That reflexivity piece is super important because it lets us know that the researchers are aware of how their own experiences might be influencing what they see.
Got it. So what about those mixed methods designs? The ones that combine qualitative and quantitative stuff.
Oh yeah, those are key. Remember that cake analogy from before?
Yep. I'm not going to forget that one.
It's all about using the right ingredients and putting them together in a way that gives you something amazing. And then, of course, more rigorous quantitative studies, especially those randomized controlled trials, the RCTs.
Right, the gold standard.
Exactly. But even with RCTs, it's crucial to pay attention to all those little details. Like, was the randomization done properly? Did they consider
Oh,
blinding?
wow.
What about people who dropped out of the study? Were they accounted for? Do they only report certain results and leave others out?
So basically holding psychodrama research to the highest possible standards.
Absolutely. That's how we build a strong evidence base, and that's how we gain respect from the broader scientific community.
Makes sense. Okay, so beyond these specific recommendations, it
Soraya's
feels like there's an
talking
even
about
bigger question looming out
Erickson's
there.
developmental
You're picking up on it.
stages.
This review
Interesting.
focused on the how of psychodrama, right? How it works.
Yeah.
But what about the for whom? Who benefits the most? That's a whole other area that needs more attention.
That's the real mystery, isn't it? We've seen some signs that it could be helpful for a lot of different challenges, but we don't really know what individual factors might make a difference.
Imagine if we could pinpoint, I don't know, personality traits, learning styles,
Yeah.
even genetic stuff. That could tell us who's more likely to thrive with psychodrama.
That would be amazing. You could tailor the approach to the person, increase the odds of success. It'd be like, personalized medicine for the mind.
Exactly. So to wrap up our deep dive, the future of psychodrama research is looking pretty exciting. It's about getting specific, figuring out those mechanisms, and ultimately personalizing the approach. And our listeners can be a part of this too,
Yeah.
As you're exploring different therapies, different paths to growth, pay attention to what resonates with you, what excites you about psychodrama, what makes you hesitate. Your experiences matter.
Yeah, don't be afraid to share those insights. Write a blog post, talk to therapists, connect with researchers.
Absolutely. So, as we close out this episode, we'll leave you with one final thought-provoking question. Could psychodrama be the right fit for you? We encourage you to keep exploring, keep those critical thinking skills sharp, and most importantly, keep diving deep. Until next time.
All
Happy exploring, everybody.
Wow, and that ended at just the right time. So this is how I do my mind map, right? So if this technique was helpful for you, let me know. I don't know, because I do it my way. You know what I'm saying? So how you do yours may be different. And so there's a method to the madness. You have to do it how your mind will remember the information. So now if, like, let's say I looked at at this sheet, right? Where'd my sheet go? All right, so let's say I looked at this sheet, right? I have the name of what it is right in the middle, right? Let me make this a little bit smaller so you could, why is it's either all or nothing here? I'll make it smaller from here. All right. So as you can see, all right. So as you can see, I have the name in the middle. So I know we're talking about psychodrama. I have the abstract on the right-hand side over here, so that I will always know that that's what it's about in the bottom right-hand corner. Then I have the specific details, like if there's some data I need to know, like what percent, and I don't think I'm going to need to know about the percentage of the whatchamacallit. Hold on, let me get this onto a different screen. Are you all with me? Sadly, we do not really question children. BBC has some really good analysis on children and teens. The shows it will send you through, I found some fascinating. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Let me see if I could get the right screen up here. Okay. So for me, this is how I do my mind map, because my brain will remember where these things are. I just experimented with mind mapping, and I just found myself going to different areas of the paper for different things. So now if I need, and then I draw arrows up and down for something that gets larger or smaller. So if you see on the right hand side where I can see with Parkinson's disease, so I don't know if this is easy for you to understand, but it's easy for me to understand. With Parkinson's disease, depression went down, anxiety went down, and quality of life went up, right? However, when it comes to burnout, sense of coherence, right? Sense of coherence went up, but it had the same effect as other analytic theory. So if that makes, so you have to just kind of figure out for you where and what and how your brain is going to remember it. So for me, teens with self-concepts and loneliness, social competence went up, physical competence went up, loneliness went down. So I do arrows up, down to help me know what it is that I'm talking about so it doesn't take up too much space. And then I put an extra circle on quality of research because that was something that was stressed over and over again. And so remember, this is a NotebookLM creation from the PDF. So I didn't get a chance to before this, but I would typically, like if this was because this is AI, we have to be really careful with making sure that, let me put my timer back on. And oh, we didn't do our, what am I putting the timer back on? We didn't do our dance break. No. See, we have to give ourselves mental breaks from studies so that it's not just sit, try to cram. So the Good Life says this blessed her, so I'm glad that it blessed you. So let us get up. If you've been with me all this far, let's get up out of our seats and let's just get a little bit of movement in. Let's see what this is. Let's see, hold on. This is Dance Like Nobody's Watching.
I'm gonna dance by myself like nobody's watching.
Okay, listen, get out of your seat and just
my rhythm's off, 'cause
listen, just get up and just do a little something.
I'm gonna dance by myself like nobody's watching. Don't really care if my rhythm's off, 'cause I'm gonna dance like nobody's watching me. I'm gonna dance. I'm gonna dance. I'm gonna dance like nobody's watching me. I'm gonna dance. I'm gonna dance. I've been trying to cope since you ran away. I've been feeling lost, I've been feeling pain. And no matter what I do, I just feel like I do what I do for you. I tried to call the doctor, it didn't help. Took a trip out to the sun to revive myself. But no matter what I do, I just feel like I do what I do for you. I'm gonna dance. I'm gonna dance. I'm gonna dance like nobody's watching me. I'm gonna dance. I'm gonna dance. I'm gonna dance by myself like nobody's watching. Don't really care if my rhythm's off, 'cause I'm gonna dance like nobody's watching me. I'm gonna dance by myself like nobody's watching. Don't really care if my rhythm's off, 'cause I'm gonna dance like nobody's watching me. I'm gonna dance. I'm gonna dance.
If you moving, we probably got like 1 more minute left. So make sure.
I'm gonna dance.
All right. Ah. Ah. Okay. Whew. So, there we have that. All right. So, I need to get to the rest of my papers because I need to get all of this information in. And remember, because this is AI is not always correct. So, you have to make sure that you're doing your due diligence by scanning, reading, whatever it is, the most amount of the paper that you can. All right? So I'm glad that this was helpful to some people. Remember, when you're studying, set your timer. I've heard studies say that 50-10 split is the best way to do it. Since we were on a broadcast, I did a 40-minute split. So right now I have 10 minutes of just anything that I want to do. So we want to talk, so we spent 4 minutes dancing, and so we have another 6 minutes to just chill, talk. If you have questions, you can ask me now. You can just type it in the thing, and then I'll go from there. So any questions that you have? You have to remember that you have got, and I closed my move thing today. Wow. You know what? I only have, because of the dancing that we did earlier and this dance, I only have 2 more minutes to close my my exercise ring. So that was really good. So if you have any questions, Denise, you can ask now. I'll put the diagram back up on the screen so that you all can see it. But remember, this is the way my mind works. You have to take the time to kind of figure out how yours works. Like, what is going to work best for you? Like, what is it that you need? Where do you need to put your stuff on the paper so that you will know what it means in your world? In my world, this is how information, because what you should be able to do, right, is come back to this page months from now, and I'll show you an example. I'll go to one that I created months ago, and I can tell you what the paper is about just from looking at it from months ago, right? So here, let me see if I can get into my class. Let me go to here. In this class, I wrote a lot of these. A lot. And you know what? It was one of my exes. It was one of my exes that that actually helped me get this together, right? So I'm going to show you here. All right. So this is the first mind map that I did. The first mind map that I did, I was just writing stuff on the paper. This one was about spiritual struggles and mental health, right? So on the right hand side, I started writing stuff on the right. Let me see if I can make this a little larger for you all. So this is how I was doing it when the very first, and so this is what I'm saying. Don't be afraid to try. I was talking to an associate of mine last night, and my associate is doing something new, and my associate was attacking, the new state of what it is that my associate is trying. And I was like, don't attack it. This is what helped you get to where it is that you're going to be. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. This was my very first mind map, and it was kind of all over the place. So there's a lot on here. There's a lot of different notes, because like when you're taking notes, there's a lot of stuff that's being said that you're reading that's just everywhere, right? And so I had the thing in the circle. I have results under here at the bottom, right? And then I have spiritual circle, spiritual struggles, searching, seeking, mental health struggles. Then I have depression, anxiety, and I have stuff all over the place, right? I'm going to show you here, let me close this. And then, so this was week 8. So, because I was like really struggling, I spoke to my ex, and he was like, oh, why don't you try mind mapping, right? And then, so I tried that in week 8, and then look at what it became. This is what it became. So then this is how I ended up doing my mind map. So now this is a little more orderly, so I can see and understand exactly what's going on here, right? Let me see if I can turn this. All right. Uh-oh, what's this? Okay. Is this how it's supposed to be? Oh, let me change it to landscape and see. It's not changing it on my screen. That's really wild. I don't understand. Let me just turn it back to portrait. Portrait. All right. So Zaraya is saying, I think they did a mind map in nursing, but no AI. I can understand, because you know AI is pretty new, and I can only imagine where the advancements are going to be years from now. So here, so I'm going to show you. This is the way my mind map ended up becoming, like this. So now, when I look at this, they did a study on self-compassion. So you see, self-compassion is written in the middle there, right? And then, oh, there's so much more that's not being shown. Let me see if I can make this. Oh, where did it go? This is ridiculous. I don't like how they're doing the screen share on this, because they're making it do some stuff I don't want it to do, but so how much time do we have? Because I only have 6 more minutes before I stop and go back to my work. I can't get it back on the other screen. So here, let me put it here. So with this, I can take a look at this, and I wrote this months ago, and I can see exactly what I'm talking about. So in the self-compassion study, it had 3 different categories, right? So because of the way I mind mapped it, I'm able to see what those categories are, right? The categories are self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness. And so I have different drop downs, same kindness that you would treat a friend, gentle supportive voice, we're all in this together, which is common humanity, all of that, right? So this is how I mind map, and then it all makes sense. It all makes sense. It all makes sense. So now, this is my mind map. This is my mind map that I just, that I just did, right? That you all saw me do on this broadcast. This thing is acting crazy. My computer is acting nutso. Oh, maybe because I'm in the wrong, I think I need to go back to landscape. Did it do it or not? It's not doing it. I don't know what's going on. It has a mind of its own. But yeah, so this is the one that I just did. And from what it is that I'm seeing on here, this is not even in the right screen. Why is I got it. Hold on. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Let me go back to my class, and then let me open it up from here. I'm having technical difficulties, y'all. Technical difficulties. Like, what are you doing? Stop this madness. There, finally. Here. Here, it's finally there. All right. So this is the one that I just did. And from what it is that I'm seeing, I don't know if the notes make sense to you, but it makes perfect sense to me. Psychodrama, they did it on individuals, couples, and groups of all ages, where you act out a problem in a safe place, role play, and we could try it out with spontaneity and creativity, right? And then up here, it has the data and the stats in the upper right hand corner, the issues on the top, the outcomes on the bottom, And then it has different things that would have made it better on the left hand side. And on the left hand side is the things that I need to learn and remember. So that's how I do it. Do yours how you do it. And if you ever get the chance to do a mind map, send it to me. I only have 3 more hours before my paper is due tonight. So I need to listen to a few more of these podcasts, write down my notes. I need to do 2 more of these. And then I am going to do my paper. I don't know why I waited till the last minute. As a matter of fact, I had to uninstall these social media apps from my phone because I find myself soothing myself and killing time with social media. And then the next thing you know, too much time is killed. So I ended up removing some of these apps from one of my phones. That way it's not my go-to, that I'm not going to it, right? All right. So Denise, I'm glad that that was helpful for you. Watch other videos on mind mapping so that you can see how other people do it, because the way I'm doing it is the way that I'm doing it. Because like some of the other mind maps that I saw, it was a little too linear. Like it had a whole bunch of stuff. And I was like, oh, this was too much. So nonetheless, I will see you all in the next video. I am going to, is it too late to eat an apple? It's 8:15. It might be a little late to eat an apple, but I got like a little munchy, but I feel like it's a little late to eat. But I'm going to be up for another 3 hours, which I really did not want to be, but now here we are. We're already in it. So anyway, Denise, I'm glad that this was helpful for you. Thank you to the people who stopped in and came through. And I will see you all in the next video. All right, go out there and love one another. Most importantly, love yourself. My self-love lesson from today's video is about each one teach one. If I have some knowledge to share, that it makes me feel generous to be able to share that knowledge. So on that note, I'm probably going to get myself, what can I do to soothe these little munchies that I have, because I don't want to eat food. Because it's a little late and I feel like drinking won't be enough, and I don't want to eat any type of snacks or anything like that, and I don't want to eat protein. So what can I do? I think apple is the best median. Just eat me a little apple. Oh, you know what? Apple and a little almond butter. Is it too late for the fat from the almond butter? I don't know. But anyway, I appreciate you coming through. You are welcome. Take this information and do what it as is best for you. All right, I'll see you all in the next video. Tonya TKO, and I'm out. Go out there and love one another. Most importantly, love yourself. Peace. Oh, dance like nobody is watching. Flavored water. Ah, you know what? That might work, because I do have a soda machine and I can make myself some 0-calorie flavored water. Maybe I shouldn't put the almond butter on the apple. Maybe I should just do like apple. But yeah, like I said, it's really late. So I think I'm just going to really just drink some water. Just drink some water. Berries. I don't have any berries. Yeah, let me just get a little bit of apple, because I only had one meal today. Oh, you know what? But I did have a snack for breakfast. You know what? I do have some nuts, but I think I would rather the almond butter on the apple. So I'm gonna do it from there. All right. I don't have avocado in the house. You know what? I do have a little bit of salad. Oh, if I had a little salad with the apple on top, because salad doesn't have many calories at all. I just don't want to be spiking my glucose in the middle of the night because it's already late. All right, I will talk to you later. See you all later. Thank you.